Hi guys, it's April, and this is the wrap-up video that almost didn't happen. Can I tell you that today is a day that just apparently wanted to test all of my limits? Like, all of them? But I am here now to give you the wrap-up of the Read-O-Rama round 7. I put a the in front of that, as if it's like this official thing. Anyways, that is beside the point. I am probably going to babble through a lot of this video, and so I apologize. I'm just slightly off my game today, but I wanted to get my words out to you, so this is what this video is. For those of you who don't know what Read-O-Rama is, Read-O-Rama was a week-long reading event that I helped host along with several other beautiful people. I will link all the information down below, plus the vlogs that I did, because I managed to vlog every single day, and then you kind of slowly saw me like degrade into this mess at the end. So if you like to see that, go for it. I'm not going to stop you. I said I was going to put it out into the world, and I put it out into the world. I apologize for nothing. But I did manage to read all of the books that I had planned to read and accomplish all of the challenges. I talked about each of the books in the vlogs as I went along, but here I just want to group it all together so that if you didn't want to go back and watch through all of that footage, you can hear it now. So that is what I'm going to do. The first 3 books that I read for Read-O-Rama were all of the same series, and that was the manga series of Avalon High by Meg Kabat. This is the continuation of the Avalon High novel, where we get this manga adaptation and we get the characters as they move on in high school after the events in Avalon High. So I won't go into too much detail about these books because it will be spoilers for the original novel. While I like seeing this story in manga, I didn't really feel like it added anything to the story. There wasn't any character development, and where we started off is where we kind of ended. There was no real change that happened in anyone or in this whole Arthurian retelling. It just kind of didn't really do much of anything. I am glad that I did get a chance to read these because Avalon High was a book that I very much enjoyed, but you could skip this if you wanted to. It didn't really add much to the story at all. And then I picked up Deep and Dark and Dangerous by Mary Downing Hahn. This is the story of a girl who goes with her aunt and her young cousin to this lake house that her mom used to visit quite frequently. For whatever reason, her mom never wants to talk about what happened at this lake, but there's always this allusion to this girl that remains unnamed that her mom doesn't want to talk about. While she is babysitting her cousin up at this lake, they meet a neighbor girl who is kind of a brat. And then as all of this plays out, you start to learn the backstory of what may have happened at this lake house with this girl's mother and her aunt. I really enjoyed this book because it brought back a lot of nostalgia for me, because this is the kind of book that I read growing up, and this is written right in that time period. So I got a lot of those same feels that I got when I read things like the Dark Secret series by Elizabeth Chandler and all of those. And so I really, really liked it for that, and it was such a great pick-me-up after reading the Avalon High manga and just feeling a little blah about the whole thing. While this isn't extremely chilling, it can be if you read it at the right time and at the right age. I also read Remembering Raquel by Vivian van de Velde. I always butcher that every time I say it. I think I say it differently each time as well. This is the story of the aftermath of Raquel's death. It's told from different perspectives, from a classmate of Raquel's, from the teacher of Raquel's, to the best friend of Raquel, and even from her father. It shows you how each of these people are processing her death and what it makes them think about, and it all leads up to her funeral and how everyone is processing all of the grief that surrounds what has happened. It was interesting to see all of those perspectives and see how a person can view a death one way, another person can view it completely differently, and how all of this can kind of come together, and maybe you get sort of a truer picture of what happened, but in the end, no one really knows except for Raquel. Now, the only issue I had with this book is Raquel was a bigger girl, and so that plays into a lot of thoughts of a lot of people inside this story, and so there was a little bit of fat shaming depending on which character perspective that you were coming from, and it started to make me feel a little icky at points. I don't know entirely how I feel about that, but I Yeah. So overall, this was an interesting read. It's probably not something I'd ever go back to. I then picked up Ash by Melinda Lowe. This is a Cinderella retelling that is a female-female romance. I really, really liked how this whole story played out with Ash as she grows up and she deals with the death of her father, and then this whole aspect of the fae that come in and how that folklore plays in. And then there's little snippets of fairy tales that are told in this universe, and I really, really liked seeing those. And then the romance in this story itself, I could see how it was kind of starting to play out, but there wasn't any real depth to it at all, and there was almost this triangle, but you could never feel any emotions from any of it. Things just kind of conveniently happened and played those kind of directions, and I didn't really enjoy that so much, but just the setting of the story and the backstory of all the fairy tales and the fae and all that, it was beautifully written that way, and I enjoyed it for that. Finally, last but not least, the book that I read for most of this Read-A-Rama round was The Sacrifice of Sunshine Girl by Paige Mackenzie. This is the last in the Sunshine trilogy, so I won't go into a lot of detail with this because spoiler alert, so I won't do that. But this is the story of Sunshine as she starts to deal with ghosts and other supernatural elements in her life and learning the backstory of who she is. I did like this book a lot more than I liked the middle book. It wrapped up in a place that made sense for me, but it still left it a little open-ended that you could get more. And I do always like the supernatural elements that get pulled into the story and how all of that gets built out. So overall, I think this ended the trilogy fairly well. So those were all of the books that I read for Read-A-Rama. It was a weird week. I did enjoy it. I did like doing all of the Twitter sprints and interacting with all of you. So tell me down below if you did Read-A-Rama and how you did, and I heard your beautiful faces. Bye.